Money. It's the lifeblood of our economies, the fuel that keeps the engine of commerce running. But have you ever stopped to wonder where it comes from? Not just your paycheck or that side hustle. I'm talking about the source, the printing presses. Governments have the power to create money literally out of thin air. But here's the thing, do too much of it and you risk upsetting the delicate balance of the economy. Too much money chasing too few goods leads to inflation. And in its most extreme form, it can morph into hyperinflation, a monstrous beast capable of devouring entire economies. So buckle up, folks, because today we're diving deep into the world of money printing and its potential consequences. Before we venture into hyperinflation, let's understand the intricate relationship between the money supply and a healthy economy. This relationship is fundamental to grasping how economies function and grow. Think of it like a delicate dance between the amount of money circulating and the goods and services available. This dance needs to be perfectly choreographed to maintain economic stability. When things are humming along, the money supply grows gradually alongside the economy. This gradual growth ensures that the economy can expand without causing undue inflation. This balance keeps prices stable, encourages investment, and allows businesses to thrive. A stable money supply fosters confidence among investors and consumers alike. But what happens when the balance is disrupted and the money supply balloons out of control? This disruption can lead to severe economic consequences. Imagine the government decides to flood the market with freshly minted bills. This sudden increase in money supply can have far-reaching effects. More money for everyone might seem like a good idea, but if there's more money and the same amount of goods, prices start to rise. This is because the value of money decreases when there is too much of it. It's the basic principle of supply and demand. When supply exceeds demand, the value of the currency drops. When the supply of money increases faster than the demand, its value goes down, leading to inflation. This inflation can erode purchasing power and destabilize the economy. And when the money supply spirals out of control, that's when inflation can mutate into hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is a devastating economic phenomenon that can lead to the collapse of entire economies. Hyperinflation. It's the economic equivalent of a runaway train, a force that can derail entire economies and leave devastation in its wake. A terrifying spectacle of spiraling prices and plummeting purchasing power, where the value of money seems to evaporate overnight. But what exactly is hyperinflation? How does it manifest, and why is it so feared? Imagine going to the grocery store to buy a loaf of bread and it costs $5. A reasonable price, right? The next day it costs $10. You might think it's a mistake, but it's not. The day after that, it's $20. The price keeps doubling and there's no end in sight. A week later, you're shelling out $100 for a single loaf of bread. It's an unimaginable scenario, yet it's a reality in hyperinflationary environments. That, my friends, is hyperinflation, a relentless surge in prices that leaves consumers in a state of constant shock and uncertainty. It's a rapid, excessive, and out-of-control price increase that erodes the value of a currency at a dizzying pace, making everyday transactions a nightmare. Hyperinflation is often defined as a monthly inflation rate of 50% or more. This means prices are doubling every few weeks. To put that into perspective, a 50% inflation rate means that something that cost $100 at the beginning of the month would cost $150 at the end. Imagine the strain on household budgets. While hyperinflation can be triggered by a complex interplay of factors, one of the most common culprits is excessive money printing. Governments often resort to this in times of crisis, but it can backfire spectacularly. When governments flood the economy with more money than it can handle, it just makes the problem worse. The consequences are devastating. Savings are wiped out, wages become meaningless, and the economy grinds to a halt, and people resort to bartering for basic necessities. In such a scenario, the very fabric of society is tested, and survival becomes the primary concern. Sadly, the horrors of hyperinflation are not just theoretical musings. They are real, devastating events that have left indelible marks on societies throughout history. History is littered with cautionary tales of nations brought to their knees by this economic scourge. These stories serve as stark reminders of the fragility of economic stability. Take the Weimar Republic of Germany after World War I. This period is often cited as one of the most extreme examples of hyperinflation in modern history. Saddled with war reparations and a government desperate to print its way out of debt, Germany experienced one of the most infamous cases of hyperinflation. The value of the German mark plummeted, leading to economic chaos. Prices spiraled out of control and people resorted to burning their worthless currency for heat. Money became so devalued that it was used for purposes other than spending, like wallpapering homes. Or Hungary after World War II, where prices were doubling every 15 hours. The Hungarian pengo became so worthless that it was replaced by a new currency, the forint. More recently, Venezuela, once blessed with vast oil reserves, was brought to its knees by economic mismanagement and excessive money printing. The country faced severe shortages of basic goods, leading to widespread suffering. These examples remind us that while printing money might seem like a quick fix, it's a dangerous game with catastrophic consequences. The lessons from history are clear. Economic stability requires careful management and prudent policies. Behind the numbers and economic theories, there are real human stories of suffering and loss. Hyperinflation isn't just about fluctuating exchange rates, it's about the erosion of trust and the shattering of dreams. Imagine being an elderly pensioner who sees your life savings become worthless overnight. Or a young couple unable to afford basic necessities because prices are spiraling out of control. Hyperinflation affects everyone, eroding the middle class, widening the gap between the haves and the have-nots, and creating an environment of uncertainty and fear. So, is there any hope? Are we doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past? Not necessarily. Governments have the responsibility to manage the money supply responsibly and prevent these economic disasters. Fiscal policy involves adjusting government spending and taxation to influence the economy. Monetary policy focuses on managing the money supply and interest rates. Central banks, like the Federal Reserve, play a crucial role by setting interest rates and controlling bank reserves. But it's not just about government action. We, as individuals, also have a role to play. By educating ourselves about economics and holding our elected officials accountable, we can help create a more stable and prosperous future. The story of money printing is a cautionary tale, a reminder that even well-intentioned policies can have unintended consequences. It's about the importance of sound money, responsible government, and an informed citizenry. By understanding the causes and consequences of excessive money printing, we can help ensure that hyperinflation remains confined to the history books. Let us learn from the mistakes of the past, embrace sound economic principles, and work together for a more stable and prosperous future. The stakes are simply too high to do otherwise.